Welcome to episode 8 of the Bluddheart podcast. What we do here is talk about all things Diablo, and we post episodes on Tuesdays. And like last week, normally we do branch off into my life or we talk about other industry news. But when we're loaded with content in Diablo, we gotta full-time it and there's a lot to cover. So we're gonna actually crack open, take a swing actually at the Diablo 3 tier list for season 18. Now, this is one of the most popular questions I get on stream all day. People want to know what to play. You know, that's part of the excitement of a new season, is kind of planning out what your build is going to be, your pathway, and all that stuff. I think that's why a lot of people enjoy my starter guides, survival guides, which we're going to do up in the next week or so. But I want to get the tier list out of the way. That way you can kind of maybe see everything from the weakest to the strongest. Now, this time around, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to cover it, still the S tier, A, B, and C tier, but we're actually not going to do every single build. So anything less than around 125, I'm not going to cover. You guys definitely know me and know I'm a big fan of non-meta builds. Things that got cut off the tier list is like LON Barb. Most people realistically aren't checking for these builds since they're really weak still and they haven't been buffed as of yet, right? I mean, there could be a final patch note that might change things. So there's certain builds, like even Natalia's Strafe didn't make the tier list. And again, this could change depending on patch notes. That's why this is more in a podcast format and it can change. So I have this file saved. If you're looking at the YouTube description, or you're looking at the YouTube video, there is a tier list on your screen. You can see the graphic that I made for the season 18 tier list. I have that file saved on my computer for Photoshop, so I can go through and edit all the builds however I want. If you're watching this and season 18 has already started, I promise you it's been changed. I'll just go through and edit the document and change the description. So what's on screen might not match the description. The description is going to be the latest version of the build. But as of right now, August 5th, 2019, this is what we have, and I think we're not going to get that many changes, but if we do, I'll definitely adjust according to those. Another thing to say is this is 100% an opinion-based tier list based on what I project the builds to do. I mean, I do look at what they've done in the current season and previous seasons, the PTR clears, my own experience with everything. I've played every build on the list, and I guess I have my own thoughts and opinions, and people always ask me, so that's what this is for, right? A lot of these builds do have higher potential. Just looking at the tier list right now, I'm going to go through the entire tier list via podcast format, so you guys will be able to hear me talk about everything if you're just listening to it. If you're not looking at the graphic, it's totally fine. But there are builds with a lot of potential. Looking at the list right now, I can see builds that might have a little bit more potential than what I'm noticing. For instance, I have Whirlwind Barb in the C tier, which maybe I should go through the tiers also. I have Whirlwind Barb in the C tier, which it definitely has extremely high potential, especially if they buff Mortix Brace in the future. Or they actually add Echoing Fear to be on hit. There's a lot of things that can augment that. And just in general, I feel like Whirlwind Barb has a lot of potential. They can utilize a lot of the new items, okay? So C tier, let's start at the bottom and now we're here. All right, start at the bottom and work our way up. I don't know what I was going with that, some kind of Drake thing. But so C tier is around 125. And that's one thing to note is all the tiers are around a certain number. So C tier is around 125. B tier is around 130, which it could be from say 128 to 134, like just around there. That's kind of where I group them. One thing I also look at is if it's noticeably better. Another example is I have Roland in the B tier, which is 130 solo, which is incredible. So don't let B fool you. B is not bad. Roland's incredibly strong. I feel like they really get to take advantage of the new items like Captain Crimson. But I feel like it's noticeably weaker than, say, Wave of Light Monk, which is in the A tier, around 135. And then the S tier is around 140. Yep, S tier. We actually have a new addition to the S tier, and we're going to get into that. I should probably start from the top. So now that I described them from the bottom, I'll break it down from the S tier all the way to the C tier. I think that's about everything else I wanted to cover with the video. Again, this is just my thoughts and opinion on everything. You can follow me at twitch.tv/bloodshed, ask me questions. You can tweet at me on Twitter at bloodshed, spelled the same way on all platforms. Definitely just want to get that across there. And you shouldn't feel bad playing something in the C tier, again, because it's totally fine. I mean, most people don't even break a GR 110, right? So we're talking about builds that are being pushed to their limit from hundreds and thousands of clears, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of clears, right? Like we fish for thousands of keys to get these levels. So if you just want to do like a 110 next season or even a 120, all the builds on the list are capable of that and nothing's going to actually hold you back. All right, let's get in with the S tier. Now these builds are around 140 solo push. I have the first thing to talk about is the LON Thorns Necromancer. To me, it's not my cup of tea in terms of playstyle, but it's very tanky for hardcore and it's solid overall. It performed well 2 seasons ago. It performed well season 17, and it's only going to perform better season 18. Another thing to talk about all the builds is that we have the Triune buff. So there's damage rings everywhere. So every build in the game is actually going to be stronger. All the sets are going to be stronger than season 17 because we have these Triune rings on the ground that gave us new abilities that we didn't have previously. In addition, we have a huge, delicious patch with things like Squirt's Necklace, which is a 100% multiplier, Captain Crimson, which is over 50% of a multiplier scaling based on your cooldown. And there's just all these items, Echoing Fury. So a lot of the builds, even though we lost the LON buff, are even much better for season 18. So we actually had like a little power creep, even though we lost the LON theme. So just keep that in mind. Mostly every build actually moved up. And that's why even the C tier is badass these days. Okay. So LON Thorns Necro up there in no particular order. I put these all around the 140 level. Up next, we have Bazooka Wizard. Bazooka Wizard maintaining its top spot. It's really powerful, and I don't see it slowing down whatsoever, especially with the cooldown rune and the damage runes everywhere, the Triune rings. Bazooka Wiz, really good build, and it's been in the game for a while, these two, and they're still going to be powerhouses in Season 18. The Viirs Wizard. Now the Viirs, I think, cracked up into S tier. What they do is, so the build is pretty skill-based. You have to keep up your stacks while surviving, and you have to weave in and out of mobs, and it's pretty like mechanically challenging, I feel, past like 130. And now there's going to be a Squirt's Necklace. So you're going to be able to do 100% more damage, kind of like we had Viirs, right? But now you're going to be on the move. So you're going to be stronger, you're going to be better than before, but you're going to have to play around your shields to keep up your Squirt's bonus. It's looking like the Squirt bonus is going to last 2 seconds, and then when you get hit, it goes away for 2 seconds. But wizards have these shields that protect you from damage, so you can kind of get shields, go in, do DPS, get out, get your shields, and repeat. So the build is going to be even harder to play than it was in Season 17. Which also is a good thing because it does bring it up to the S tier. And finally in the S tier, the LON Dagger Dart / Carnival build, whatever you want to call it. I call it, Carne Asada Witch Doctor. I believe this is a contender for even the best build in the entire game. They are changing Echoing Fury. So it does proc on kill assists and it procs on pet kills. So you're going to have just insane bananas attack speed. And you're going to be doing so much DPS. You don't even need Stricken. You shred the Rift Guardian. In addition, you can use a Squirt Necklace, and you can use things like, say, Jaunt, right? So we talked about Squirt's Necklace, how there's a 2-second wind-up time once you take damage. Here's the thing with Jaunt, you have a 3-second immunity with Witch Doctor, so you can actually like build up your shields, for instance. And like, let's say you have a Saint Archus and you go enter an elite pack and now you get 150% shield on your character. Like we were talking about with Wizard, you get shields. So the shield blocks you from damage. And then if you jaunt, you're immune to damage for 3 seconds. So you can really take advantage of the Squirt Necklace and the Echoing Fury. The Echoing Fury gives you attack speed every time you get a kill. So you kind of ramp up through the Rift. It's super satisfying playstyle, and it's pretty easy to play. This is probably the easiest build on the S tier to play at a high level, I'd say. Thorn's Necro isn't mechanically challenging, but you do have to know mob manipulation. Bazooka Wizard, you have to be really talented at landing star packs, managing all your cooldowns. Bazooka is probably the most mechanically challenging, the hardest build to play on the list. And Viirs Wiz is maybe a little bit less than Bazooka with more, again, mechanics and understanding the map and your stacks and everything. And then Dagger Darts, Carnival, Carne Asada, pretty chill build. All right, let's get into the A tier. Now, who's king of the A tier? I think some of the kings of the A tier are LON Wave of Light Monk. Okay, Wave of Light Monk was in the B tier last season, and I think it's going to move up a spot into the A tier. It was around 130 actually in my tier list. I did change my tiers, so I bumped them all up 5, but yeah. Last season, I had LON Wave of Light around 130. Now I think it's around 135 for, high-end players because of the use of Squirt's Necklace. So they're getting 100% more damage, and they get to stay back, do damage at range, and really take advantage of Squirt's Necklace. It's so powerful. If you think about it, a Squirt Necklace is as strong as an Endless Walk set. And normally with Endless Walk, you can't use it with LON, but now you can use Endless Walk with LON basically because of Squirt's Necklace. So you take LON, you remove 1 legendary gem, but you give it LON, right? And you give it the Triune bonus rings on the ground. It's really satisfying when you get that reduced cost resource and you just blasting Wave of Lights all over the place. Super strong build for Season 18. Speaking of super strong builds, the Pestilence Lance Necromancer build. So this is for pushing. What they're utilizing is, I'm not sure the exact details. I've tried a few different variations myself. So Pestilence was already like a 135-ish build. So I think this just solidifies it. This is one of the builds that might surprise me where it might bump up to the S tier because it does have tons of potential. You can have Perma Land of the Dead, which is incredible, right? Perma Land of the Dead is Perma CC. We talked about not getting hit, right? So you can also use the Captain Crimson set to get into Perma Land of the Dead easier. So actually Pestilence gets to use a lot of different items. So they get to use the Reaver if they want, so they get Perma Land of the Dead. They get to use the Captain Crimson set to have more cooldown and more damage. And they get to use the Squirt's Necklace. So they get to really take advantage of a lot of items. So this is one of the builds that I think has way more potential than even when I'm getting it. But it hasn't been done yet on the PTR. And myself, I did struggle past like 130. So I want to see it first. But if you play Pestilence, Lance Necro, just know you might have extra potential there, because everything is going to be permanently CC'd and you'll be able to push and push and push. So really strong build and lots of upside with the Lance Necro. Another Necro build that was strong in season 17 and 16 was LON Singularity Necromancer, right? LON Mages, some people call it. Really powerful. Again, it should be able to take advantage of the Squirt's Necklace. Either way, 135 should be pretty good. Another thing to note about Necros, the meta is LON Singularity for farming Paragon. So people play Necromancers for like hours and hours and hours and hours, right? They grind like 6,000 Paragon in a season. So what this does is they have so much opportunity to get GG gear. So a lot of the Necros are even boosted by the amount of hours that they played. Like they have almost perfect gear because of the tremendous amounts of hours, where like a LON Wave of Light Monk might be, playing their Barb for support, right? They might be farming Paragon in a different class, so they're not getting just that GG gear constantly. I mean, their friends could pass it to them and all that stuff, but you're not on that character, so it's a little different, right? If you get a primal weapon that's perfect, most likely someone's not going to give it to you. So a lot of the clears are just like really high for Necro because they have that perfect gear for farming for so many hours. Okay. Next on the A tier. The A tier is pretty thick this time around. A tier is around 135, just to remind everybody. Don't be shocked, okay? The Unhallowed Essence, right? The UE Multi-Shot Demon Hunter, I think, has 135 GR potential. In Season 17, people are pushing around 130. So They also get to take advantage of Squirt's Necklace, like Wave of Light. They get to stay back and just let it rip, just light up the screen. They get to take advantage of Captain Crimson as well. So more cooldown, more damage. You still want to stack Max Discipline on all your gear, but it's a really powerful build. And it should be like one of the fastest GR100 farmers in the game, up there with Viirs and LON Wave of Light. It's just super efficient and a deadly build, a badass deadly build. I like Captain Crimson set. I think it does wonders for the game to bring sets up to the LON builds, and then the LON gem allows you to still use the LON builds effectively. So the game's in a really good spot. There's a lot of balance. Literally everything that we're talking about today is viable for you to play. And that's another reason why I kind of shortened the list. That way, anything you hear me talk about, you can play it and have success with. Up next, we have the Shadow DH. Everyone's favorite, Impale Shadow. Good mobility, good on hardcore, good single target, and it's awesome. You can take advantage of the Captain set. You can also drop the Captain set and use the new AUG set. The new AUG set gives you damage and damage against elites. So you can double down on what you're good at already, which is killing the Rift Guardian or killing elites in general. Or you could even just use the classic set. It's really good. I think it's stronger than it was. Just the rings alone on the ground, the triune rings are good. And if you do mix in some of the items. My prediction is that the Captain Crimson set will be the go-to set for pushing at its highest high. It is kind of annoying to push without, you lose certain things, like you lose like the belt, the Chain of Shadows belt, or if you use AUG, you lose your bracers, so you lose the ability to knock back with strong arms. So there is some give and take and some trade-off, and I do love the crafted sets for that. But I do think Shadow will be around 135, right there with multi-shot. Basically even builds, they're both really good. Another A-tier list, we have the Jade Witch Doctor. Man, Jade is badass. I gotta say, it's super fun to play. You get to use the Echoing Fury, like you get to use with the other Witch Doctor build that we talked about, Dagger of Darts. So as you're killing things, your attack animation is so boosted by Echoing Fury, you're doing just tremendous damage. You're just like haunting at such a crazy rate. And then you're able to ignite that with Soul Harvest and blow things up. I feel like it does have the potential to be around 135 as well. It was one of my favorite builds, really fun to play. It's like almost like an EP monk where you're dotting, building, and then you blow things up. Super satisfying. The Jade Witch Doctor. Two more builds for the A tier. We have LON Blessed Shield, which I think it's still in the 135 area, even if you lose the gem because of the other bonuses that we talked about. They can't really take advantage of a lot of things, but you can take advantage of like the Flavor of Time, where you're getting like double pylons, right? So you think about it, you normally get, say, 3 or 4 pylons. Let's say you get 3 pylons. Let's say you get 3 pylons when you're pushing normally. Now, what if you would think about it, right? Now, how does 6 sound? How does you getting 6 pylons every time you do a GR push? How does that sound? That sounds stupid, right? Well, as of right now, it hasn't been nerfed yet. It's a reality. The Flavor of Time doubles all pylons. It's effectively like getting 6 pylons. It is heavily RNG dependent. You know, some builds don't benefit. Like, let's say you're playing Blessed Shield and you get Channeling Pylon. Well, LON Blessed Shield, well, they do benefit from cooldown, actually. Never mind. But you might get something like you might get Shield Pylon, but then you're not dying. So then it's a wasted pylon. So it is a lot of RNG based on what pylons you get. But overall, the Flavor of Time plus the rings on the ground will still keep it at its strong 135 level, in my opinion. Another Crusader build is LON Holy Shotgun or Lazy Shotgun. It's very hardcore friendly. One thing that this build can do is take advantage of the Stone Gauntlets. If you guys don't remember, the Stone Gauntlets give you a stacking armor bonus. And right now they give you 50% per stack up to 250% armor. We were able to achieve like 99% damage reduction. That is like 230,000 armor on our character. So I think this build, while it doesn't seem to be a 135 viable, I think it has tons of potential. And I think somebody will clear 135 with it because you literally can do any rift and you're essentially invincible. Like you can basically do anything, your heart, whatever you can fish for, because survivability is not a problem. And typically at this level, survivability kind of is one of the limiting factors to help you clear. All right, let's talk about the B tier. All right, B tier is baller, okay? That's 130 solo. Really, really high. Starting off, we have Raykor Hoda. An oldie but a goodie, man. This build has always been strong. I think it's around 130 in Season 17. Now that they have Mortix Brace, it gives them, at least right now, it gives them way more tankiness. It might give them damage if they change it, but as of right now, I think it's just going to be a solid 130 clear. Really good overall. Don't forget to check the description for the latest version of the build. You won't have to look for anything. Whatever link you click on will be the latest version. We also have the LON Hoda version. So I think this is really hardcore friendly, and I think it's harder to play in a way than Raykor Hoda because you have to really keep up Echoing Fury to take advantage of it. Like, you have to be on it. You kill an enemy to proc Echoing Fury, then you DPS the elite. When you're about to lose Echoing Fury, it only lasts 3 seconds. You make sure you kill an elite, and sometimes they just run to you and make it easy, but sometimes you have to really play around it. I think this is a high skill cap build in terms of keeping up Echoing Fury, but there's no really hardcore mechanics other than your awareness of the map. But hardcore friendly, you have a lot of health. The Mortix Brace makes you hella tanky. It like doubles your life per Fury, and it gives you 50% damage reduction. So it's really good for hardcore. Just using any Barb with Mortix Brace now is solid overall. We also have a shocking build, which is my prediction. I think we're going to see a 130 clear with Roland, and it's also hardcore friendly. It's extremely similar to Hoda, right? Hoda is like a big hammer hitting the ground. Roland Sweep Satyr is like you're whipping a flail around. One of the cool things is you don't have to worry about Echoing Fury because Roland has a 75% attack speed steroid built into the kit. So you don't even have to carry Echoing Fury. It's insanely strong. I really think just because of Captain, it seems like it just sets this build on hyperdrive. We are just destroying rifts with this. And at the very least, you're probably looking at a 125 at a super low end. Roland's is pretty badass. And it was always kind of in the conversation, but now I think it solidifies itself in the 130 range with the other builds. Okay. Up next, we have Inna or Sunwuko Wave of Light. I put them both in the B tier around 130 because they both can take advantage of the new items. I think Wuko's stronger than Inna's, but Inna's is tankier. It's more like a preference thing. You know, it's kind of like what's better with Impale. You get the lightning or you get the cold. So it's a tomato situation. I would go with Wuko. I'd go for the more damage, and Wuko can really take advantage of a lot of new items because their off pieces with their set work really well with Captain Crimson, work really well with slotting in Squirt's necklace. So I'd go Wuko, but you can play Inna's. They both are doing really well, and whatever you choose is okay. LON Corpse Lance Necromancer. I think fell a little bit losing one of the ring slots, but I think overall it's just a solid build, really strong, lots of potential. I didn't put it in the A tier only because LON Singularity feels noticeably stronger. Pestilence feels noticeably stronger. So it just didn't feel right. But do I think someone can potentially do like a A tier clear with Corpse Lance, LON Corpse Lance? Yeah, I think so. We did a 120 in Season 17 with suboptimal gear, low Paragon. So I think somebody could definitely push it farther, like into the 130s. I just put it here because it just feels noticeably weaker than, Pestilence and what I said. So Pestilence would be like the de facto Lance Necro build for Season 18. So that's why it's there. Another hardcore friendly build is Invoker set. Invoker can wear Captain Crimson. It's really powerful. I did try it with Echoing Fury and it didn't get the same result. It didn't feel so good. It's better to be like an elite hunter and just kind of double down with what you're good at. So hardcore friendly Invoker Crusader build, really solid and for a 130 solo clear next season. A reemergence build, another hardcore friendly build, the Tal Rasha Meteor Shower build, one of my favorite builds of all time. Actually back in the 130 territory, in my opinion. You can use some of the new toys like Captain Crimson, or you can slot in Squirt's necklace and focus on your shields, just like, say, Viirs Wizard does. But I'd say you probably just rock Captain and keep it cruising, I'll put a build in the description. I'll put a build for mostly everything in the description. I'll do my best to get everything there. If I don't have one from my own, I'll put it from another creator who I think that did a good job or whatever, so you can always look for that. 2 more builds for the B tier. We have LON Spirit Barrage. Super solid build. I think it's around the 130 clear. Again, I think it has higher potential to maybe be 135, but it does feel noticeably weaker than Jade Witch Doctor, which is in the A tier. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I would kind of place it, because you can kind of contextualize it that way. And the final B tier build, LON or LON CONDEMN. Okay, the hardcore LON version is noticeably tankier, and you can use the Stone Gauntlets. So the Stone Gauntlets reduce your attack speed to 0, but CONDEMN is unaffected by having 0 attack speed, just like the LON Holy Shotgun is unaffected by it. So I could see people really coming through with LON CONDEMN and getting A tier clears or jumping a tier. There's a lot of potential with LON CONDEMN. The Akon version, I think there's less potential, less damage, but I think it's possible to get around the 130 solo. So I kind of put them both in the B tier, and they're both noticeably stronger than like LON Bomb, which is in the C tier, which we're going to get into. All right, the C tier, which builds that are going to be around 125 solo pushing for season 18. Let's start off with Leapquake, hardcore friendly build. I think somebody did around a 127 with Leapquake, 128 last season. So now that you have the rings and all that stuff, you should still be around a 120. I think it's still going to be like 127, 128. Maybe the rings will push it to 129, maybe 130, but it's noticeably weaker than like Reikor Hoda in the 130, the B tier. So Leapquake, solid still. It didn't get nerfed. You can still leap in your circles and take advantage of everything. I love Leapquake. It was one of my hardcore mains a few seasons ago, and I really enjoyed it. The next hardcore friendly build is for the C tier is full IK Hoda Barb. Really powerful, just not as powerful as LON Hoda or Reikor Hoda, but still solid overall, easy to build, and good build overall. Another hardcore friend, you can see there's a lot of barbs. You notice a trend here. There's a lot of barbs in the hardcore friendly territory. Whirlwind Barb. So Whirlwind Barb, I have it around 125 in its current state. It did jump up. It used to be in the 120 category last season. I'm looking at my old tier list here. So it did jump up a whole tier. It can use the Captain Crimson, and it can use Echoing Fury. So under the right circumstances, can it be 130 solo? Can it jump a tier from C to B? I think it's possible. And if there is any kind of buff to Echoing Fury or, Mortix Brace, I think it does have the potential to jump up even further. But as of right now, if the season went live today, I would say that somebody can push around 125 with it. Super good. Roll attack speed everywhere and kick butt. Another hardcore friendly build, the LON Rapid Fire DH. Now this one kind of fell from grace. LON Rapid Fires were doing like a 135-ish this current season 17. So I have it all the way down in the C tier. I think losing the gem really hurts, and not being able to take advantage of the other builds, of the other items, really hurts. Like you can't use Stone Gauntlets, you can't use, and I think as far as I know anyway, from my testing, you can't use your Pain Enhancer gem, or you have to drop Trapped, or you have to drop Stricken. The only thing you can really use is like the Flavor of Time, I suppose, and then of course the Triune Rings. So maybe it's a little too harsh. Maybe it should be 130. But I feel like everyone's going to be playing Multi-Shot and Shadow, and I just have it in the high C tier, I guess. You could say like a C+ tier if there was one. Up next we have Bloodlance Necromancer. That's the Trigul Necromancer build. Nobody's going to be really playing this, but I did put it here because it is still really powerful, and it does have the potential to do like 125. It's just didn't get nerfed. If anything, it's stronger than it ever was because you get the rings, and you can probably use the Squirts Necklace, and it could probably even do a 130, but it is noticeably weaker than LON Corpse Lands or the other options that we talked about. Another hardcore build is the Natalia 6 Marauder 4 Demon Hunter. Again, stronger than it's ever been because, I guess not stronger than it's ever been because we had the Ring of Royal Grandeur season 2 seasons ago, but it's stronger than it was in season 17 because now you have the rings. And you can, I don't know if you can slot in the Flavor of Time, probably not. So you can see like whatever's not taking advantage of the new toys is basically unaffected. So it didn't get nerfed, but it didn't get buffed. So N6M4, still really good, and you can lock yourself in for about a 125. Gen Monk, again, should be around 125. I can't see a use for all the items as effectively as other classes, so I think it's down there with Natalia. Again, 125 is still a badass level to do. Most people do like 110, if that, every season. So you're in a good spot if you're even breaking 120. So Juliana Monk I had around 120 in season 17. They can use Captain Crimson, and the extra damage reduction is noticeable. Through my testing, I feel like UE is, or U6 is way stronger than it was previously. And it's really fun to play. Tanky, cool. You can still snapshot and do a lot of damage. High skill cap build. And it's I almost put the hardcore friendly tag on it too. But you are in the thick of it, tanking, and it is a little spooky. But it's tanky. It's moderately tanky. It's a consideration, right? If there was a consideration tab, I guess. 2 more for the C tier, and to wrap up the tier list, we have the hardcore LON Meteor Shower Wizard. I have it 1 tier lower than Talrasha. Talrasha can actually use the new items, whereas LON Meteor Shower can't really utilize them as much, and they lost the LON Ring. If you don't know, LON Meteor Shower is one of the tankiest builds in the game. You get just crazy health, crazy stacks of shields. It's just really good for hardcore if you want to play Wizard. It might even be a better choice than Talrasha for hardcore, potentially, because of all the juicy toys you get to wear with LON. And the final, you might be surprised by this, I put LON Bomb Sader here. So we talked about the stone gauntlets, right? They make you insanely tanky, and they give you 50% armor per stack up to 250. Even if it got nerfed by 50%, it is incredibly tanky item. And I feel like the LON Bomb has a lot of potential. Also, when you pop Pony, the reduced movement speed is unaffected. You still go at super speed. So you're unaffected by any negative effects from the stone gauntlets as of right now. And when you have things like this, so now you have infinite toughness, I feel like there's a lot of potential there for interesting clears, interesting builds. And we only had a week on the PTR. So this entire list was based on me scrambling, 10 hours a day, trying to put together my thoughts and opinions on every build, all the top builds anyway, and try to place them in a list for everybody. So it's only a week, man. So it could be a lot different, but this is what I truly think will be relatively close. If you look at my last season tier list, everything is roughly close, like maybe 5 levels apart here and there, but nothing is like dramatically different. And hopefully I'm close again this season for everybody. So this is like one of the most popular questions I get. People want to know what to play and what builds are good, what's bad, and all that stuff. So hopefully videos like this or podcasts like this help bring it to light, and so you guys can see what you can even do, right? If you're looking at the graphic, the HC means hardcore friendly. There's a little key at the bottom. And again, this is all my thoughts and opinions. So I didn't really use like hard data from the leaderboard, just based on my own experiences and all that stuff from testing and playing and, even talking to other creators. In the description, I have a Patreon. You can definitely support there. It does help the podcast, the streams, YouTube. I kind of like I'm a single mom over here, okay? I do everything, right? We run our social media, we do the stream, the YouTube. But the Patreon page also has all our builds on it. Now that's going to be updated before the season goes live. The builds are free for everybody, okay? All these graphics, all the information I put out is free for everybody. Patreon's just there if you want to support. It's there. You can sub on Twitch. You can just leave a review on Apple Music or whatever, or whatever you listen to the podcast on. You can just leave a rating. That helps out. You can chat with me on stream. You can leave comments on YouTube. Pretty much, if you're following me on Twitter and you hit the like button, or if you see a picture on Instagram and you hit the like button, all that stuff just helps us, propels us, and it helps us be discoverable to more people, right? Even if you're lurking in the stream, you're making some dinner and you have me on in the background, it does boost us and we can maybe see more people. And, the stream always grows, and I'll always be here to create content for everybody. So yeah, thanks for all your help. I'll try to put links for everything again in the description. And so check that. And if there's an updated tier list, I will update that in the description as well. If you can tell, I'm trying to fix future questions that I might have. If your build isn't shown here and you think something else should be adjusted, definitely just leave it in the comment. Be positive and say, yo, Blood, can you relook at this build? I think it should be on the list. It should be 125, and I'll, do my best to see if I agree, and then I'll change the tier list in the future. So whatever you see on screen, if you're watching the YouTube version, just check the description. If you're listening to the podcast, well, I will definitely update it next week. So that's a good thing about having a podcast, like a weekly show. If there's any changes, if Blizzard releases the final patch notes, the seasonal release date, we can definitely talk about it. Also, yeah, if you were curious about the release date, we don't know yet. We don't know the season 18 start date, but we do know the season 17 end date, and that's the 18th of this month. So get in, get your galactic wings, get all your stuff. I could ramble all day long. Thank you guys so much for watching and all the support over the years. This is the Bloodshed, and I'm out of here. Peace.